Welcome back to the Mail-In Podcast. Happy Thursday, everybody. Get one of these in your feed Thursday morning. With me, Brett Merriman, Randy Trembacki on the ones and twos, and to my right, making her long-awaited return, the lovely Sally deFries. Good morning, Sally.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I know. Thanks for having me back as a co-host of this podcast. A little PSA for people out there. This is not my full-time job.
No, you are a working mom who has gone back to work now with 2 children, and its schedules can be a little bit different.
And I became chief of my hospital.
No way.
Yes.
Let's go.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So took on a little extra responsibility. So there is a chance for the next 2-ish months till we iron out when we can actually record this, that it may not come to your podcast app by the morning of Thursday, or it may be a random guest. It may be Randy giving you advice.
You filled in admirably last week.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate that. We almost missed our flight to Nashville, so I appreciate that. Yeah, so just bear with us. I'm trying to make it happen on the regular, but we got to figure out a time that this is going to work for everybody.
We will figure it out. We love having you back. And
thank you.
We have a lot of questions that I'm like, oh, well, I need Sally for that one.
Yeah.
So
it's, no one's really taken to my recording on Sunday at 3 p.m.
Yeah. Well, now that the Bills are eliminated, I'm wide open.
Okay. Okay.
Which,
I know. R.I.P. Bills.
I know. It's just why do we even, why do we bother, right? Why do we get our hopes up for anything?
The Lions are still in it.
I know. How exciting is that?
Shockingly. And I'm trying to temper Will's expectations.
I don't want to tell tales out of school. They won next week in his mind.
No, see, I think he is so used to them losing that he's like, this we're done.
Can I tell the people the move y'all did in buying refundable flights to Vegas? I love that move.
Well, I didn't want to be in a situation where there was a chance they went and you were like, well, now they're $1,200 or they were sold out. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just gonna get them. They are refundable.
Okay.
Well, I bought them on points, so the points will go back to my Southwest account.
Sure.
Jules is a big Vegas goer.
She is.
We do know this. So
Shouts
she already had multiple rooms.
Does she listen to this podcast?
I don't think so. Nancy does.
I know Nancy does. Hi, Nancy. Shouts to you.
I don't think Jules has ever listened to a podcast in her life. She sends us stuff from Huberman and is like, everyone should be doing this. We're like, did you listen to it or read it?
Yep.
She's the person who reads the headline, sends it out, has no idea what it says.
Right. Of course.
She was queen of that during COVID.
Oh yes. Does she? Does she listen to anything? Does she listen to music? Does she? When she goes to Vegas, what is she popping on the headphones?
Nothing.
Oh, she raw
talks
dogs
to all the people around her. When she's in the car, you'd be like, is she listening to music or talk radio or whatever it is that people do? No, she calls each sibling on loop. So she starts with Emily, then Natalie, then me, then Lily, then Harry. Then she calls my dad. Then she calls, she has a whole list she runs down. And then when she gets to the bottom, she hikes back up to the top.
Got it. Do you remember when, if you're on a sports team or sometimes we did this with snow days, you had the call tree where okay, you were responsible for calling these 3 parents. And then these 3 parents were responsible for calling those 9 parents.
Right.
It was the call tree. I don't know if that just jogged my memory of that.
No. I mean, but hers is like a call list. It's not a tree.
Right. She just has the Rolodex.
Unfortunately, this is a trait I think she's passing on to me because I have found myself in the car, not in the mornings because it's too early on my way to work. So I listen to stuff on the way to work. But I have found myself in the afternoons going down the phone list and catching up with people.
That's a good thing. That's a good trait to have, though.
It's a good trait, but Will would argue that it's annoying because I'll just call him and be like, hey, what's up? How's your day? He's like, can we not do this at home when you're going to be home in 2 minutes?
Okay.
And he's like, I'm juggling both children and it's terrible. So I need to, it's unfortunately it's very targeted towards Will, my mom, and my sister. So I call those 3 people And I
Got it.
talk to them all the time.
I thought you meant like, oh, you're calling your friends from Houston, and you're
No, I
calling
need
your
to do that.
yeah.
That's who I need to call.
I see. Before we move on, I was on a flight Saturday, or I guess Friday. I was on a flight Friday, and the lady next to me had 3.5 million Delta miles. I saw her phone.
Oh shit!
And I was like,
was she platinum?
She was
like lifetime
She
platinum?
was lifetime 360, whatever the diamond medallion.
Diamond medallion.
Yeah. I'm
Triple plus
platy.
diamond medallion.
I'm platy for the next month and a half, I think, because I got all the COVID rollover, and then I'm gonna be silver moving forward. It's sad.
I lost my silver somehow.
Really?
Well, Delta changed all their
They changed
stuff.
everything. Yeah, I know.
It was a bummer.
It's sad. So I'm gonna lose
a silver is like not even like that's just baseline. And
silver
I lost
gets
it.
you a free bag,
and
sad.
Priority boarding.
Yeah,
that's
priority
it.
boarding. Platinum gets you complimentary upgrades, free bags, drink vouchers on every flight. It's gonna suck.
I know.
Oh well.
Oh well.
We are the Mail-In. Please subscribe on iTunes, follow on Spotify, hit the hotline number 888-362-MAIL. That is 888-362-6245. Or you can write in at the link in the Twitter bio at Mail-In Podcast or in the description of this episode. Hit up the YouTube, which we are on today. Good morning, folks. At youtube.com/Mail-In Podcast to see our lovely faces in 6K. Sally, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you going to
Randy,
read the first one?
Sure. You want me to do the first one? Or
you can read the first one because the second one has no punctuation and I already have mapped it out in my head how I'm going to read it because
okay.
The first time I read it, I was very confused. And then I realized they didn't use a single period.
Perfect. Let's ride.
Okay.
Dear Brett and Sally, another potential guest host. So we'll throw Randy in there too.
Randy, you're allowed to answer.
I am 25, living in Manhattan. Shouts to the Gem Saloon. Major shouts.
Yeah.
I have aged out of the Gem Saloon, by the way. I went there when I was in New York, and I was like,
too old.
Had one drink, had the nachos, and I had to bounce.
Got out of there. Yeah.
Yep. I've been seeing my girlfriend for about 2 years. Overall, she's been great. She's kind. She's smart. My family likes her, and we have a lot of the same long-term goals. However, it's become apparent that she has one real interest: Taylor Swift.
Oh, she's a Swiftie.
I have no issue with Taylor and enjoy her music, but my girlfriend's hyperfixation on her has become incredibly annoying. She turns nearly every conversation into something about Taylor, and couples with the broad-based media converge on her. I'm at my Taylor Swift limit. As someone who has a multitude of hobbies like lifting, sports, squash, reading, religion, cooking, history, etc., this dude is cultured. I find her tunnel vision to be a real thorn in our relationship. How could I bring my need for her to diversify her interests? Should I say nothing and just encourage other hobbies? Or is this something I need to either deal with / decide if it's a deal breaker?
Okay.
Let's talk parasocial relationship.
Here's where I think it becomes a deal breaker, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
This is my personal deal breaker.
Okay.
Are you on Twitter or Instagram with like a Finsta, not a Finsta, sorry, a fan Instagram or a fan Twitter?
If she's the proprietor of like Taylor Swift besties?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And like, are you commenting on like, say, Kim Kardashian's, Instagram 5 years ago when all that came out, like with like hate comments? Like, are you, because I like Taylor as much as the next person. I'm trying to go back to the Eras tour internationally, Is
this going to continue to be the Eras tour, or is she going to stop it at some point and be like, all right, this is the blankety blank tour?
I think that Eras is continuing internationally, like in Europe in 2024.
And the next time she does a U.S. thing, it'll be like
there's 2 U.S. cities, New Orleans and Miami, at the very end of the tour.
Got it.
I only know this because we have my girlfriends and I have discussed going because we didn't all get to go the first time together.
Okay.
So we were like, yeah, let's go to New Orleans. That'll be fun. Or Miami or Toronto, whatever it is.
Do you want to go to Dave Matthews in the Woodlands with me?
No, I don't. Maybe Will does. So I like Taylor as much as the next person. Do I think that she is maybe a little too publicized currently?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But like, that's not her fault. I mean, it's probably a little bit her publicist doing, but like, she can't help it. But I think we need to take the celebrity obsession. To me, be obsessed with the band, be obsessed with celebrity, but when you are making your like social media presence just about them or like stalking them, we've gone into problem territory.
What I think Taylor does that this girl sort of might have fallen into a little bit is, doesn't she kind of like QAnon her fans, where it's like she intentionally is like, hey, here's some breadcrumbs, and try to
She
find.
breadcrumbs them for sure, but I also think she puts herself out there as like a very approachable person who
Oh
like
yeah, totally.
is so people in the same vein of like, this is a horrible comparison, but in the same vein of like how circling back listeners think they understand what's going on in like Will, Dave, and Dylan's lives because they talk about it on air.
Sure.
She is similar in the fact that she puts a lot of her life out there on social media and things like that. So people think like, oh, I like we would be best friends. Like I know her. But like in
Gotcha,
reality,
okay.
you don't fully know. I mean, she probably is exactly who she presents herself to be, but I think she presents herself very much girl next door. And so people like get this obsession of like, we would absolutely be best
we
friends.
would be buddies. I get that. And that's kind of the parasocial relationship. Like
Right.
you are with this person. I think it happens with like streamers, like people watch these people
Right.
every single day, comment and interact and feel like they could be actual friends.
And
then
we've seen so much of her lately,
Yeah.
like in the past year because of the tour that people are, anyway, to me, the deal breaker is like, if has this whole online life where she's like going to Taylor's defense and stuff unnecessarily, like that's too far.
I agree.
Personally, I have an experience with this. Will is, in the past year and a half, become a huge deadhead.
He has.
Okay.
Thank you for the Christmas gift, by the way.
You're welcome. It is one of his, it's taken on a pretty big life of its own at this point. He mostly listens to dead music. He only talks about jam bands, etc. Here's how I feel about it. I personally am glad he has something to do. And most of the time I just tune him out. Like
you kind of nod and like, okay, like you
there
encourage
are aspects of it that like I like, you know, like I'll go to a concert with him, great. Don't mind it in the car. But like when he starts talking about like, oh, like so the lead guitarist of Goose was like with the Deadheads in the blah 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 in Mexico, and I'm just like checked out. Personally, that's how I deal with it. Because like I love Will. He does have other interests, but he's very focused on this interest currently. Gotcha. And I am not. So I just let him do his thing.
Does it have anything to do with Manchester United being absolute shit?
Probably.
Trash.
Which is another interest that like I know enough about, but I also tune out. I think I'm not going to knock somebody for having an interest. Sure. Right? Like I absolutely get an interest, go balls deep in it, like love it. Especially I think when people pick up new hobbies, they get like really enthralled in it. But it sounds like this girl's been really enthralled with Taylor Swift for a while. Yeah. You know your own personal deal breaker. You have to decide, like, is she going full psycho and now, like, we have to go to 5 different cities to see her in concert and she can only talk about her and she, like, is becoming a little bit, like, single white femaling Taylor Swift? Like, is that going to happen? Or is it, like, she's probably going to move on when Taylor's not in the spotlight as much?
Sure. I think for me, I kind of think of, like, the why here. Like, what is that relationship with Taylor's fandom doing for her? Is it filling a void of like a sisterly figure? Is it filling a void of
like camaraderie,
boredom or camaraderie, or what is that giving her? And is where the deal breaker comes into it is, like you said, with, are we trying to go to 5 concerts and now it's a financially crippling thing?
Right.
Is there, like actively taking time out of her day?
She trying to move to Nashville to stalk her, like hanging out in her West Village neighborhood, like
right. It's something that's like, okay, it's taking away from our relationship, not because she talks about her all the time, but we're sacrificing time or money or like things that actually can damage a relationship. Otherwise, I think you asked her, like, what is this doing for you? How does this fill up your cup, right?
Yeah.
In the fandom. And if it's like, you know, people are like, Game of Thrones Reddit was big. You go look at all the theories and after every episode. So I get why people can have these obsessions or hobbies that kind of go too far, and Taylor Swift's been one of them. But if she provides her comfort, or it's she's helped her through trauma or something like that, maybe, maybe give a little grace until
Yeah.
it's really truly affecting, you're 25, that people can grow out of these
And
things.
she might everyone kind of approaches hobbies differently. There are people like this guy and people on the Great British Baking Show who have like 17 really intense hobbies. Like
Sure.
that's what I always think is hilarious about the Great British Baking Show. It's like these people are amateur bakers. That's already like a hobby in itself, but they also like collect like toy cars and they like also garden and they do like they have like the most hobbies of anyone. I'm like if somebody asks me a hobby, my hobby is like sleeping and watching TV. Like
Sure.
I don't
Orange wine was there for a little bit.
yeah, I don't like have hobbies. So people kind of approach them differently. And when I do have a hobby, I tend to like go full throttle into it.
Okay.
Like I'm about to make mahjong my hobby, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
There was
Got a whole set.
there was
for
rumors,
Christmas.
there was a Sally Hobby Watch at some point last year, or 2 years ago on embroidery, I think, for a second.
Yeah, it didn't go
there.
well. But some people approach it differently. Some people can dabble in a bunch of different things, and some people need to go full blown. Like that's their personality is like they're obsessive, and so they pick one thing and they really home in on it. So I don't think we can fault her for not having a bunch of different interests like this guy. You can maybe see if she wants to come, play squash with you or go take an art class or whatever it is. But if it's not like doing full damage besides you just being like people exactly what you said, people grow out of it. I think you give it time.
I do too. I think this is a time thing, and just until it gets to the point where she's like, "Well, Taylor's supposed to be in Nashville next week, not for a concert, just like there's rumors that she's going to be there, so I'm going to fly there." And just like,
Right.
then you're like, "Okay, we have an issue. You're stalking now."
My sister has a friend who's a full blown Swiftie, and like literally, like every album that comes out, like is showing up to Target because that's usually who she partners with. And like
Okay.
has all the extra tracks and like gets the
Really?
thing and like goes through all the breadcrumbs and it's like
Yeah, I know Kelly Keys, a friend of mine at Barstool, does that. She's like, I guess she kind of reports like the Taylor Swift beat though, so she kind of has
yeah,
to. It's an interesting. I mean, it's an interesting fandom, and I think every girl has a reason for it.
right. But like the difference is like Kelly Keegs isn't like have a Twitter that's like Taylor
No,
Swift Bestie
Taylor's-
Daily that's like
Yes, a fan account.
literally talking about like what Jason Kelsey is wearing because he is like somewhat, related to her.
Do you think? Just a quick aside. I think we got well done with that question.
Yeah.
The Jason Kelsey discourse I saw. Did you see his shirtless
Yeah.
performance?
Yes.
That like body type / like beer crushing bearded, man. I think that's making a comeback. Like the 90s had that and the 80s had that. And now it's like, I think that it has come back. What do you think on that?
Isn't that just equivalent to a dad bod?
I think it's a little more, it's like a barrel chested dad.
Yeah,
Like dad
you're
bod's a
like- you're like-
little more, less athletic.
Really like manly.
yeah. There's something
dad
to
bod.
that, I think, that people were like, wait a second. A lot of the tweets I saw were like, do you mind if I say something? Like quote tweeting
Yeah.
the Jason Kelsey picture.
Yeah.
And it's like dad bod plus. It's like
Yeah.
jacked dad bod. If that makes sense.
I don't know.
Not into it?
Not really.
No. Okay.
But
Just had to take the temp of the
again, I
room.
think I'm kind of tired of like happy for Taylor and Travis.
Mhm.
Great for Jason and Travis's podcast. I am a little sick of them being shoved down my throat a little bit.
I get it.
Like I'm ready
mean,
for
I
the
get it.
NFL season to be over because I think NFL leaned in a little too hard, and I'm like, y'all need to chill out.
I see I have the take. I have the very lukewarm take, I'll call it, where I totally don't mind being, shown Taylor celebrating a touchdown, and I agree that it's happened a lot.
Yeah,
And I'm just I have both
and
sides.
I don't
get
have
it,
a problem with like
Mhm.
the Kelseys.
Totally.
I think some people like think they're a little chuggy or blah blah blah. I'm like Jason Kelsey seems like I think people think that they're maybe a little try hard. Especially
okay.
like maybe Jason Kelsey's like whole situation of like partying with the Bills fans and then being shirtless. I'm like, let him live. Who cares?
Mhm.
But I also think that it's partially our responsibility to stop like feeding into the frenzy of like the NFL and like all of those announcers are showing it because we're all like, oh my God, like Taylor and
You know who?
Brittany are friends.
You know who's had the best like month is the girl that designed Like whenever Taylor wears something, she's done the jacket.
Yeah, the jacket.
Kristen Juszczyk,
Yeah.
Kyle Juszczyk's wife.
Yeah.
She's had a come up. Like,
Yeah.
good for her. They're so cool too.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you fall on custom NFL fashion, but
Well, I mean, the Lions go to the Super Bowl, catch me in one.
ooh.
I mean, I don't
Hold
think
on.
they can make
I have an
one
idea.
time.
Talk after the show.
Okay.
Let's
go to the
well,
next.
we have to talk about our friends over at DraftKings.
Yeah.
Sally, you know, we're all DraftKings here. You're a draft queen.
Thank you.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs. They're bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. Electrifying. Is that John Travolta?
Yeah, agrees.
New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Again, $5 on any game and instantly get $200 in bonus bets. Sally, here we go. Ready for the Lions?
Yes.
Not the Lions, the Lions.
The lines.
Kansas City, Baltimore at Baltimore plus 3.5 for the Chiefs. What do you like there?
Oh, really?
Chiefs are getting 3.5 points on the road. Yeah. I like that.
Oh, no.
Baltimore?
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore.
Baltimore big.
Yeah.
And then Detroit is getting 7 at San Francisco. A full touchdown for the Detroit Lions.
I also think I might take the Giants there.
Are the
49ers. Sorry, not the Giants.
I see where you're going with it. Okay. I think I'd take both dogs this weekend.
Really?
Yep.
I want to say that I think Detroit can do it.
Or at least lose by 3.
Lose by 3, but I'm worried it's going to be a 2-touchdown game. Don't tell Will that I said that.
I won't. This is not being recorded.
It's not being recorded.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code WASHED. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code WASHED. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Next one, Sal.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to really put the punctuation in
Okay, here we go.
My girlfriend of 2 years moved in with me, and after 3 weeks, I come home from work one day and all of her things are gone. Sorry, he did use one period. It's right here.
But it's also not spaced out afterwards.
She texted she's sorry for doing it this way and had mentioned she could not get over previous issues that we had. What do I do? Should I not respond for a while? Her B-day is this Saturday. Should I text her happy birthday or leave her be? Any advice would go a long way.
Woof.
Do not talk to her.
This is one of the biggest see you laters of all time.
Okay. Again, this sucks. This is a horrible way to be broken up with.
Mm-hmm. Insane way to be
broken up with. An insane way to be broken up with. It hurts. You have zero closure. You honestly are going to probably continue to wonder what the hell happened, even though she kind of gave you oh, we had issues, blah, blah. But if she's not willing to talk it out with you, or sit there like an adult and break up with you after being together for 2 years.
2 years and moving in
with you.
Yeah.
And then just packing her shit and leaving. The only time that is acceptable is if the other person committed an egregious error, cheating on you.
Or
having a second family.
Murder, perhaps.
Murder, yeah. Just straight up leaving and giving no that's a fully coward thing to do. You do not owe her anything. I would block her from your phone and do everything you can in your power to never contact her again. Here's why. She doesn't deserve your time. She made that very clear when she didn't give you an ounce of her time.
Yep.
Focus on the fact that thank God this happened now and not when you were gonna get married or, more when your lives are more entangled. She showed her true cards. very upfront. And I don't, as much as he probably wants to know like what happened, I need closure, I want to have a conversation. She doesn't want that or didn't want that. And even if she changes her mind later on, you don't owe her shit. Stop focusing on that. Don't text her for her birthday. In my opinion, don't be nice to her. Like, you don't need to go out of your way to be rude to her, but like, I would cut her out completely the way she did to you.
Yeah.
And move on. And try not to focus on the like, oh man, like I really would just love some closure. When people say like, I need closure, if the other person isn't willing to give you closure, that is the closure you need.
Correct.
They aren't willing to respect you enough to have a conversation with you or to like give you any sort of warning besides just leaving.
She Baltimore Colts you in the middle of the night. Like, that is crazy.
It's like when people, I think that's the biggest thing about like breaking up with somebody, or when they ghost you like that.
Yeah.
When people get ghosted, they're like, if I just had some closure, like I would feel way better. And it's like, no,
that is the closure.
That's the closure. They ghosted you. They don't care about you enough.
I don't think I've ever heard that mindset, but I totally agree with it. It's like, that's as much closure as you need.
Right. They left ghosted, and they didn't want to have a conversation. So know that in the future, they're going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
They're going to leave arguments. They're going to leave you high and dry. I literally had this happen to a friend in school. We were moving back to Austin. She had been with her boyfriend for 2 years. They were moving in together. We were going to start our residency, and he straight up disappeared from the face of the earth before they moved in together.
I would think he's like dead.
Correct. And then he like reappeared 3 weeks later and was like, I'm really sorry. I just like freaked out. It's like, well, then talk to me. We've been together for 2 years.
Oh my God.
Did
they stay?
So no, they broke up. But like kind of had like a back and forth for like 2 more months. And I was like, you have got to dump him. Like,
wow.
Absolutely not worth your time if he straight up disappears.
Goodness.
So, like cold feet, in my opinion, is like, there's no excuse. I mean, like you can have cold feet and be freaking out, but like you owe your partner
more than an explanation. You owe them a lot of time and energy.
Right. And leaving is such a cowardly thing to do. Like,
yeah.
So do not call her. Do not wish her happy birthday. Consider yourself lucky that this happened now. I mean, not lucky. It's a shitty situation, but in a few months from now, you'll look back and be like, "Thank God," because you could have invested more time into her.
Totally, and maybe go to Dave & Buster's on Saturday. Get your mind off of it.
Yeah, do something.
Next one.
Yeah.
Hi, Mail and Crew. I have a friend question. I'm going to try to keep brief and vague, but would love some advice. I have a longtime childhood friend who I have grown apart from due to a number of reasons, but the main ones being her behavior around COVID and my wedding. And more recently, my pregnancy. Bottom line, she's a very self-centered and ignorant person, and I have distanced myself for my own mental health. She's now getting married to someone I'm not a fan of and told me to speak at her very large and international wedding. She's also having a casual bachelorette local to where she lives and positioned it as so easy without acknowledging that it is still a flight and a long drive for me, in addition to having to leave my baby and having to find an overnight babysitter for her. 1, how do I get out of speaking at this wedding? I cannot write a genuine speech, and I'm terrified of public speaking. And 2, how can I finally stop feeling guilty for being so over this friendship?
This is like growing up 101. This is like
growing
turning
up,
30.
Growing apart. Your 24-year-old friends can be very different at 34.
Right. On the flip side, the girl who's getting married could easily write in and be like, my friend is like not even willing to come to my bachelorette, and
won't speak my wedding.
She only cares about her baby and her husband and da-da-da. This is just genuine. Your lives don't align anymore, and that's okay. There are people, we've talked about this so much, but there are people in your lives that like maybe you grew up with. Like I have friends like this that we are in totally different stages of our life, but you're just like meant to be friends with them because you like don't talk to them every day and maybe only see them once a year, but then you see them and you like catch up like no time has passed, and conversation flows easily and you care about each other, but you also don't let the like minutia of like, she didn't call me for 3 months in a row, like get in the way.
Yeah.
Those are friendships that like will stand the test of time, and they might not be there for you at every moment of your day, but they'll be there for you in the important stuff. And
Mhm.
like, I have friends like that like I literally haven't seen in like a year and a half. But
Totally.
like if I called them tomorrow and we hung out, it'd be like no time has passed. And you do need people like that in your life.
Mhm.
Not everyone is going to be that type of friend.
Sure.
Most friends you make based on your situation or convenience or whatever it is. So like you have your like best work friend because y'all are at work together every day, and you have your best friends from college, and then you have your best friends from your internship, and you have your best friends from camp
And beer league hockey.
and beer league hockey. And some of those people will become lifelong friends,
Mhm.
and they transition into the like lifelong friend, ride or die. This person will be in my life forever.
Mhm.
But just because I think this is like a big thing with college or like immediate post grad friends, you have this intense bonding period for years where you're in the same situation. You're like living this like pseudo
Half
life.
adult, half no.
Right.
Yeah. Like.
So you have this bonding, but then you're a totally different person than you were now. Like
Mhm.
you are a totally different person now than you were in college. And that person is too. So it's normal that like your life paths are moving far apart.
Sure.
And again, some people are going to put themselves into the category of like, we're going to be cool with the fact that we're growing apart and that our lives don't align anymore. And we're just going to like make the most of it. And some people aren't.
Mhm.
And it's okay if your friendship,
Drifts.
it drifts. And it's okay. Like if you like think about like the people that your parents are friends with, or like someone who's like an older adult in your life, if you like look at their close friends, likely it's not somebody, very few people, it's like, I'm still best friends with all my college best friends.
Sure.
That's like a sobering thing to realize that like you're just gonna I think I probably realized that like around 30 is like I'm gonna move through stages of life, and like my friends are gonna change with time, and I'm not gonna be friends with people forever.
Mhm.
That's hard to realize as somebody who like loves friends.
But it's also exciting because, like, you think about when Fritz starts playing soccer, you're gonna meet a soccer mom, and Will's gonna meet a soccer dad, and you guys are gonna go on trips together. And,
Yeah.
like, that's how my parents, like, the hockey parents, my
Right.
dad played in a golf hockey league for 20 years, and, like, it's just waves of life, and you
And
get.
it's hard, I think, to realize that your high school or your college friends are not gonna be your all of them aren't gonna be your adulthood
Sure.
friends. So, just come to peace with that fact. I think everyone, especially when you approach your 30s, like, approaches this dilemma because when you leave college and then you leave the post grad and you're really motivated to keep up with all your friends, but as things change, it becomes harder. And that's, I think, right around 30, maybe like late 20s is when you realize, like,
Mhm.
oh, it's really difficult to like keep in touch
Of
with 15
course, yeah.
girls.
Yes.
Um, as we've all moved around the country and our lives have changed. So don't feel guilty about that. Uh,
Do you think she should speak at the wedding?
No.
Okay.
Personally, I'd like be there for her, go to the wedding. I think especially if you're just in a kind of like over it and you're just like, I don't, it's doing you both a disservice because clearly she's not going to continue being a really good friend. And
Mhm.
then, in my opinion, like a wedding, something like that, like is somebody, I don't want to look back on my wedding and be like, I can't believe I let this person speak. We don't even talk
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying.
And I have been in weddings where like I literally don't even speak to the person anymore. Not like of
Mhm.
anything besides the fact that we grew apart. You're
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
okay. So I would just tell her like, hey, I'm really honored that you want me to speak. I really and don't blame it on like we're not friends anymore and you're not you're selfish, but just be like,
Mhm.
I really, really am uncomfortable public speaking. I thank you for thinking of me, but I would really appreciate if you took someone else. Like, happy to write you and your husband like a note
Oh, of course, yeah.
of
Something
what I would say.
meaningful, and I will write you my speech,
Right.
give it to y'all,
But
and
I like
I can't speak it.
it will give me too much anxiety, and like I really just would rather enjoy the day with you than like be freaking out about speech the whole time.
Totally.
And then if she pushes it further, just be like, I'm not comfortable speaking at your wedding. I'm
Yeah.
not going to.
Boom. Done.
And she's probably gonna pitch a fit about it. But like again, that's just like the writing on the wall of this friendship. It's like it
Yeah.
kind of sounds like the friend getting married has already like kind of committed some like she's probably, like I said, on the flip side being like Sarah won't speak at my wedding.
Right,
Like,
right. It's the self-centered.
why are you both trying to make something happen? Like, you're just going to speak at her wedding to make her happy, and then she's going to look back and be like, Sarah did a half-ass job. Like, it's not worth it. Like,
the only if you're gonna say, hey, do you want to speak and say something? Is it worth doing like a passage from Corinthians or something? Is there like reading something versus orating something?
right. I mean, if you would like want to present it that way, but like, hey, I'm happy to read a passage.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're like freaked out of public speaking, then probably
That still kind of gets you.
yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable with. But I mean, again, set the boundary. Like, no, I'm not going to do it. And as far as the bachelorette wedding, I mean, we answer this question so often. It's a personal yardstick for everybody. For me, I'm like, I try to make the effort for friends to go. But I'm also like, if you're going to be a child about it, or if you are making it really difficult for me to get there, like, I reserve the right to like keep my finances and mental health intact and say no.
Yeah.
And so
it's
different for everybody. Like, don't go and feel hostage to somebody because you feel like you need to.
You can say no.
You can say no, and people are going to complain about it, the bride especially, and that's okay.
And
like,
it's not going to affect your long-term anything.
Right.
It's gonna piss her off for a day. You're gonna feel weird about it for a day, and then you guys are gonna move on with your lives.
And like, again, we've said this before. I've missed 2 friends' bachelorettes. One because I was out of town for another wedding, and one because I was in the middle of school and had 3 tests the next week.
Yeah.
So
of course.
I'm still friends with all those people.
And they understand.
And like, friendship stood the test of time, will stand the test of time. Other people whose bachelorette parties I missed, if they pitched a fit, I'm kind of like, well, this was a little telling. Like,
yeah, sure. Yeah, you kind of, then
if that's going to affect your friendship that bad, and it sounds like it might, like, then the writing's kind of already on the wall for me.
Sure is.
This
one's for Randy. Looking for advice based on own personal experience and also what Sally has seen other moms doing at work. After having an unplanned C-section with my first, it looks like I will most likely need to have a planned C-section with my second. Do you have any advice on things I can do to make the whole process and experience not seem like just another medical procedure? Also, as a 2-time C-section mom, is there any recovery advice you have? Randy, what do you know about C-sections?
So first of all, what I would think,
Randy, please give us your medical opinion.
Okay, Randy, real quick. Beginner, what does a C-section entail in your mind?
Do you know what the C stands for?
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't know how to spell it.
He's going to say Caesar salad.
I would just assume that it's like dissecting a frog. You just go in there and you get it.
It's like a fumble recovery.
Do you know how the incision is made?
I'm assuming a scalpel.
No, but do you know where you how you cut someone's stomach open? Like, do you go horizontal, vertical?
I would think vertical, right?
Ooh, then you killed him. You go horizontal, so you save the abdominal muscles, right? Ish.
Yes. Well, kind of. I
ain't no doctor.
That's actually the way they cut the abdominal muscles is usually vertical. So,
okay.
Well, it depends. There's 2 different. There's a classical C-section, which is where you like go from someone's belly button to pubic bone vertically,
just straight up. Like
that's how they used to do it. Now they do it horizontally, like above your pubic bone.
That's in my head. That's how it works.
But some people still, even though they're going horizontal, cut the abdominal sheath vertically. So it just depends on how your doctor does it. Most people are going to go horizontal, but basically, Randy and everyone listening,
cesarean, right?
Cesarean section.
Okay.
Means you cut through 7 layers of skin, fat, fascia, abdominal muscles, peritoneum. I'm missing some.
And then the uterus, finally.
And then the uterus, which is you cut the uterus and then you pull the baby out and then you pull the placenta out. Then you sew up all those layers.
Sew it all back up. Oh my God. 7 layers?
It's like a dip.
It's a 7-layer dip. But not every doctor closes all 7 layers. Sometimes they just they close the uterus and then they close
because they kind of heal
3.
on
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Kind of holy shit.
Yeah.
Medicine's so cool.
Okay. My first C-section was not planned.
Okay.
It wasn't unplanned.
It
It
was sort of
wasn't
like
an
a-
emergency, but it was not. I didn't go in there the morning of expecting to have a C-section.
Okay.
So quick. I'm going to make this as fast as I can because I do like talking about this a lot. But most time when you are laboring and you are getting anesthesia for laboring, it's called an epidural. Y'all have heard of that before.
The big old needle.
Big needle, then they thread a catheter into your back,
Oh, gosh.
basically, and then it infuses medicine into your epidural space.
Okay.
Um,
Wild.
Epidurals can be what we call patchy, which means sometimes you can be numb in some places, but not numb in others.
Ooh,
So
okay.
when you have a C-section that's unplanned and you had a labor epidural and we convert you to a C-section, a couple things are happening. Number one, a labor epidural is not going to get as good of numbness as what another anesthetic is called a spinal, which is placed similarly to an epidural, but it's a single shot of numbing medicine. So it lasts like 3 hours. Number two, if you've been laboring, you are already exhausted and you have tons of hormones going already, and you also have been getting medicine through your epidural that can cause you to be sleepy. And so most people's first C-section that was unplanned tends to be a not great experience. Usually you had one because the baby's not doing well or you're not doing well, so it's already kind of scary.
Okay.
And you're exhausted and you're usually shaky and throwing up because that comes with labor too.
Oh my God.
And so most people don't even remember it, or like they remember really bad things.
Kind of like black. It's like a blackout experience.
I remember Fritz's, and I was like very prepared for a C-section because I do them all the time. And I still like blacked out during part of it. I had shoulder pain. Like I was vomiting the whole time after.
Jesus.
Not a great experience.
Yeah.
I tend to tell people when I do anesthesia for a second C-section after they've already had a C-section. So like this girl, it's a totally different experience. It's like a spa treatment, essentially. Like we bring you in.
Oh my gosh.
You have your makeup done. You come in. You've stopped eating at midnight, but like you know what's going to happen. You know I'm going to go in and like have a baby, and like the baby. If my C-section scheduled at 7, this baby's going to be out by 7:30. You walk in. You get a spinal. Again, a spinal works for a C-section because again we're cutting open your abdomen.
Yeah.
Way more numb.
Okay.
Than an epidural. I'm not saying an epidural you can't get numb, but a spinal is like a very, what we call a dense block. Like you're not going to be able to feel anything.
I got nerve blocks in my shoulder for shoulder surgery. That is, it's a wild.
Yeah.
And I would
Like
assume
you like
it's
touch
very
your
similar.
thigh and you're like,
And it's just like, oh, it's like another person's arm.
limb.
Yeah. It's weird.
So already, because it's more of a controlled environment, it's a totally different situation. Not saying that other C-sections that aren't unplanned aren't controlled, but they tend to be a little bit more what we call urgent or stat.
Sure. Yeah.
Depending on what's going on. So this time we know like you're doing fine. The baby's doing fine. We get the spinal, we lay you down, we connect you to everything. Then we like not leisurely, but we like do a timeout. Everyone like talks. We're happy. So
And then you do the facial.
it's just totally different. It's way more, you already know what to expect, and it's not, I think people freak out like my experience was so bad. It's like, well, because you were exhausted. You've probably been pushing and like been laboring for 24 hours. This is a totally different situation. You probably might not even have a contraction going in for a scheduled one.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. So she kind of asked like, how do I not make it just seem like, oh, it's a surgery? Like she wants some sort of like struggle or pain or
I think, no. I think people though feel like C-sections can be very sterile, and because you didn't like birth a baby vaginally, you're not like still birthing a child, which is bullshit because you are not only bringing a child into the world, you're also having abdominal surgery. So
sure,
you're just as much of a mom as everyone else.
Absolutely.
But you can also make it, people are like, I didn't get to like listen to the music or pull out my essential oils or whatever. You're in an OR, they'll let you do a lot of stuff. So I would talk to your doctor before, and then also mention to the anesthesiologist or CRNA or whoever's doing your anesthesia, like, hey, I really want XYZ. So like for Will and I wanted to listen to music, which we did. And I wanted somebody to take pictures
and watch Top Gun.
Of him coming out. No. And I wanted Will to cut the cord. And most doctors will let you do that. They'll like keep the umbilical cord long and cut it.
That's crazy.
Charlie did not do great. Charlie didn't breathe for like the first 2 minutes of his life. So it was a little scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can be like, I want, delayed cord clamping all of these things. in general, when you go in with a birth plan, whether you have a C-section or vaginal birth, you can say all these things like, this is what I want. And as long as the baby and you are doing okay, most doctors are going to be like, cool, we'll do that. So you can say like, I want, my husband to be able to like call out the gender or like the time of the birth. I want someone to take pictures of us. Most people are going to be really accommodating about it.
So
like
cool.
bring music, even if it's on your phone. Just make it like kind of a happier environment. This person personally DM me. I will answer your questions. I'll freaking hop on a call with you. I'm really passionate about this stuff because I think childbirth is such a like very intimate situation that I get to be a part of all the time. And it's really humbling. But I also think people feel like I'm stepping into an operating room. I'm not allowed to like call the shots, but it is your baby being born. So like,
Sure.
You can't call the shots of surgery. There's still stuff that we have to abide by, like sterility and like, whatever, but we can make accommodations. You are having a baby. So like if you want to say like, I would really like to like put him or her on my chest afterwards, as long as the baby's doing okay, most people are going to let you do that. Like,
Okay.
So think about what you would want if you were having a vaginal birth and then ask your doctor, like, what things can we accommodate?
Like, can the husband get pizza and ice cream, for example, for like doing the hard work?
Yeah, not in the OR, but maybe after.
Maybe
sure.
after.
But seriously, DM me and
Okay.
I will answer your
I like
C-section
that.
questions. But also any medical things, like I think this is an aside, and then I'll stop talking. When people go in for surgery or to the hospital and things like that, they're very scared because they're in a situation of things that they're not used to.
Of course.
It's up to you to be an advocate. Like, don't be a dick or a Karen, but like, if you want to say like, hey, I really want to avoid this. Is there any way we can like avoid giving me opioid medications? Or I really want, the lights low.
Oh, okay.
During,
you can kinda do...
like things like that. I mean, I'm not talking about just having babies. I'm talking about in general. Like if you're having surgery and you're like, hey, I'm like so nervous. Can you give me something beforehand? Say what you're freaking out about, like, or say what you're concerned about. Like, we want to hear it and we will try to make accommodations for you within reason.
Sure. The last thing on this topic, I feel like from what I've heard from friends having children and kind of getting to that age, it feels like, a common trope I hear is that they're like, oh yeah, it's like sort of like an industrial complex. You're in, you have the baby, and then they're like, all right, you got a day, and then we're getting you out of here. Is there some sort of like, is it just because there's so many births? Is there, kind of everyone becomes the same for you on the medical side, on the doctor side, on the nurse side?
I think people feel that way because once you have a baby, they literally clinically care about like how the baby's doing, how you're doing. And then once you're both like ready to go, they got to get you out because like, I think when you have a baby and you're like, they're sending you home, you're like,
yeah. You're terrified, right? Like
I'm allowed to go home with this thing by myself. Like you didn't
Yeah.
tell me anything. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to raise a child. Like
Mhm.
what the hell? And so it feels like they push you out, but it's like because most people would straight up stay for a month and be like, someone else help me. Like I don't know what the fuck is going on.
And every little thing that you're like, oh my God, are they okay?
Yeah.
Like their face turned a little red. Like,
No,
oh my God.
that's honestly the job of the pediatrician. Like you show up to the
Yeah.
pediatrician, you're like, how do I take care of another human? Like, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
But that's every single person leaving the hospital is like, you didn't give me any advice.
There's no manual.
They're like, here's what to look for if they're dying. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
but like, what about the other stuff? Like, no, they don't tell you. You
See
just
ya.
figure that out.
Goodbye. We have to
by
go do
yourself.
another one.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah. Oh, this is me. Hey, Mail and team. I'm the best man for 2 weddings this year, and I'm in the process of planning 2 bachelor parties. This is the first time I've been in charge of planning something like this. What are the rules I need to be aware of? Everyone pays for their Airbnb except for the groom. How much structure should I add for the days? Just create a rough itinerary. Also, what are some good to knows on writing best man speeches? I'm a planner, so I'll likely get moving on these months in advance before the wedding.
Love this question.
All right.
Love this question.
Bachelor/bachelorette party.
Different vibes as far as itineraries go, I think.
Different vibes as far as itineraries, but in general, for me, planning a trip, especially depending on the amount of people, as best
Very
man,
much depends on the amount of
it
people.
totally depends on the amount of people, but I think as best man, your priority should be finding a location to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So Airbnb, hotel, whatever it be, and like help coordinate that.
Yep.
And then making reservations for meals. Dinner being, I think, the most important, and maybe like
Tea
again,
time is a good example.
tea time. It totally depends on where you are too. Like if
Mhm.
you're in Scottsdale, you need to make dinner reservations, you need to make tea times, and maybe like a fun pool day or like a club day.
If that.
If
It's
that.
sort of for a best man and bachelor party, I'd kind of the rule of having like one thing, whether that's a steakhouse reservation, a tea time, block. The chances are these guys are not going to want to be going in this like regimented. Oh, we
Right.
got to be here. We got to be here. We got to get on the bus. We got to do this. We got to do that. We have the props for this. It's just not that vibe for
Yeah.
bachelor parties, at least in my experience. It's like, oh, we got to be at the steakhouse at 6:30.
Yeah.
And you know that in breakfast time, and however we end up getting there, you have 12 guys with one thing on their brain that's got to be there at 6:30. And everybody's going to kind of, they break off into little cliques, and the work friends hang out and the high school friends hang out, and you kind of intermingle, but have one thing planned each day.
Yeah.
Whether it's a tea time block, whether it's a steakhouse res,
Whether it's the Vegas pool party or you're skiing.
pool party, ski, like something. Hey, we're going to do this on this day. Everybody be here at this time. Anytime you're getting more than that, you're getting into territory where people are like, oh, this fucking Nazi over here.
I also agree about a bachelorette party though. The biggest things for me is like have meals or an idea of what the meal is going to be at
Yep.
least for dinner, so that people are getting some sort of sustenance. Because it's like as the day goes on, the drunker you are.
Yeah.
If y'all didn't make a plan,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like a shit show. But like have a steakhouse reservation. Have one night just do pizzas. I think for Barrett's they had like a chef come, which was like a fun idea.
Very cool idea.
We've
yeah.
done that on bachelor parties
Mhm.
or bachelorette parties. But like, even if the plan is I'm ordering pizza, just in your head, be like, here's where I'm ordering pizza from. I'm
Yeah.
going to call them at 5 p.m. Because the worst thing possible is you like, okay, like Saturday's a free night. And then everyone's like, well, should we all go together for dinner? And then you have 14 dudes trying to get into a restaurant. Like,
Yeah. I would think with guys, not that I think we're cool with going to a bar and like, oh, we're just gonna hammer chicken wings.
that's fine.
it's kinda
but
like-
just that, have a plan.
Yeah.
You don't need to have plans for breakfast or for
Mhm.
lunch. Like girls always do like a brunch usually.
Sure.
But like even lunch or breakfast normally is like free for all. It's
Yeah.
like figure it out. Like
Yeah.
you're an adult, make a sandwich at the Airbnb or
Yeah.
like stop, get something on the turn, or if you're skiing, stop and do a little après and like have lunch,
Mhm.
whatever it be. But like planned dinners, they don't all have to be at restaurants. Just have a plan.
I like that. Yeah.
And then again, one activity per day.
Yep. There you go.
And
Um,
that activity, make sure that you can actually do it and not just show up. I haven't had a situation like that, but I have
I was
a
gonna
current.
say,
I have a
what personal experience?
I'm just
is
saying,
this,
I currently have a friend that's booking a bachelor party that I could tell, like, definitely kind of just like hopes for the best. And it's like, if you're gonna, like, we're gonna maybe go snowmobiling, like, I'm gonna call the place beforehand and be like, hey, let's make sure
Do
we
you have
meet,
12
like,
snowmobiles?
yeah, and then we have
available?
like tickets. Do we need reservations? Because I could just see him
Right.
being like, "Oh, we'll show up there and then we can do the tour." It's like,
Yeah.
no, make sure like things are like you can actually do the things that you're planning. on
Right.
doing, too.
Even if it's like going to a brewery, calling ahead and being like, hey, I have 12 guys coming on Saturday, like around noon.
Mhm.
Like, we cool with that? Like, do we need a reservation or are we cool to just walk in?
Yep.
Like, one call ahead. This is where guys and girls differ. Like, girls will be like, I have a reservation at 10:14 a.m. for brunch and da-da-da. Like, we have spa treatments. Like,
Yes.
girls are cool with that. That's fine. But like, at least do some legwork. If you're gonna go play putt-putt, like just make sure they're cool with, because the where it gets you is that you have usually 10 plus people and you
Mhm.
can't walk into anywhere.
Yeah.
becomes very hard to do
Like,
walk-ins.
Right.
Working at Jimmy John's is weird to say, but like if someone came in and like ordered like 500 sandwiches, like we're not prepared to give you that. We
Right.
have to refuse your service. Like that's
Right.
a ridiculous thing, but like a lot of places aren't ready for a big group.
Hey,
Right.
man,
So
hey, man, figure it
again,
out.
like if you're picking up lunch for the house, like
Yeah.
that, you don't have to plan that right now for an August, bachelor party, but like call the week ahead and be like, hey, I'm going to order like 10 sandwiches.
Cold cuts, baby.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Just a little bit. And clearly this guy's ready because he's
Yeah, you're
he's already
already
planning.
He's asked, usually in my experience, everybody pays for the Airbnb except the groom. That's a yes, in my opinion. The groom gets a free ride on that and the best room in the house if you're doing an Airbnb. No?
Okay. I'm trying to remember like the last one I went
Yeah.
on, and I feel like the bachelorette has always like paid her way. Normally we've like
Okay.
paid for dinners and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like I thought the rule was more that the bachelor pays for his airfare and lodging, and then everything else is on the group.
Right.
Got it. Okay. I don't disagree. But the ones that I've been to 2 bachelor parties that were Airbnb, and we definitely gave the groom the best room, and I think we paid for his like share.
Okay.
Maybe we didn't, but
That's
we definitely
nice.
gave him the nicest room. And
I think everyone I've been on, the bachelorette has paid for what
Okay,
Randy
lodging.
said, flight and
Yeah,
lodging.
flight makes
and
sense.
then we have paid for her
everything
dinners.
else. Like usually like an uncle will call in and be like, "Hey, that's steakhouse night. Put it on my card."
Yeah.
I've had that happen.
Like, yeah. That doesn't always happen.
No, but
And also, one thing is that this happens with bachelorette and bachelor parties. If you're going to be putting down your card, I personally think, especially as the best man, like that's fine. You have everyone's numbers, but like if anyone else, get a split wise or something like that, so that if people are paying for stuff, they can get paid back.
Yep.
And
Yep. How
if
about the
you-
Batch app? Shouts to our friends
the
over the
Batch
Batch
app.
app.
Something like that, where there's a central location for stuff, so that if somebody went and got beers for the house or something like that, they're not like 3 months later at the wedding tracking them down and being like, "Oh, like I paid for this." Like, just be an adult and pay for your Venmos.
Figure it out. He asked about writing best man speeches. I have the best man sandwich method. Ready for this?
Yeah.
1, keep it tight. 2, intro, joke, story, joke, sentimental, toast.
Yeah.
That's it. You
And,
can just boom.
Again, keep it tight. Say how you know him. We do not need. I was at a wedding this weekend. The bride and I went to college together.
We don't need
the
that.
first day of Rush.
We don't need that.
Like, if there's no point to what the sentence is of like pointing you towards something you're gonna say, don't add it as like just fluff. Just
remove the fluff. Intro. I'm Sam.
I'm Brett, and I know Randy because we worked together at Washed.
I
Great.
met this dude because he couldn't run to save his life, so we were last in gym class every fucking day. Joke.
Story about him and his fiance, his wife.
Joke. Sentimental. I'm so happy you guys
so
have found each
happy
other.
Sarah's beautiful. Like, you hit the jackpot with a wife.
Toast.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
No crying. Literally, the worst thing you could do is start rambling. And everyone thinks like, oh, everyone's gonna love the story, but like no one cares.
Be a little sober for this one too.
Yes,
because
be
when you're
sober.
drunk, it's easy to be like, oh, Jared, you remember that? Remember that, Jared?
And then we've talked about this before, but either memorize it or have like a card or on your phone, just one word that's gonna prompt you to what you're gonna say.
Bullet points.
Do not read from your
Teleprompter.
phone or from a piece of paper that's 5 pages long.
Amen.
Nothing will kill. If you look like this, I don't care if it's the best toast in the world. If you look at your phone like this, I am automatically zoning out, and I'm not going to listen to it.
100%. It's like a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
The people that would have like the slides and
Don't care.
don't care.
And I would say, as one of the jokes, I think we said this before, someone has to catch a stray. Usually someone on the group, like the wedding party's good, or one of the parents, because if it's like the brother of the groom or something, you at least are guaranteed half of the family is going to laugh.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I
Someone
like
catches
that.
a
Give
stray.
Don't
give
do,
somebody a
like,
stray. Yeah.
An obscure person, though. It needs to be
Yeah.
someone who's
Right.
a VIP within the
Like,
wedding.
yeah, the one other guy from your fraternity is not going to do that. But
Yeah.
like his dad doing something, like
Mhm.
that's going to get something.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And also, you're doing 2 bachelor parties. Last tip I have, you can ask for help for another groomsman.
Oh, totally,
Especially
yeah.
since you're paying 2 of them. Like, ask for help from someone else that you know
And-
at the party.
And ask the groom's opinion. Not everything has to be a surprise.
Oh,
Like, what do you want to do? Like, what would you like?
At some point, for my bachelor party, I'm gonna want input because
Yeah.
the 2 best men, shouts to Matt and Dan, love them.
Piece of shit.
No, they're great guys. They're not party planners.
Yeah.
It wouldn't go well. So I'd be like, I'm gonna hold y'all's hand
Yeah.
through this.
I would like one surprise. Everything else, I want
Where would you do your bachelor party, Randy?
Honestly, it's hard to say. I've thought about maybe just Austin because none of my friends have ever came to visit me.
Yeah.
So it would be
Oh,
kind of just
okay.
cool to just like get this take them around my city. Otherwise, like I don't know, I'm not getting married anytime soon. If I'm in like upper 30s, Tokyo would be pretty cool.
Tokyo.
It'd be
Wow.
like
Whoa.
it'd have to be when I'm getting like married. If we're a lot older, Tokyo would be cool.
That would be sick for a bachelor party.
Wow.
Okay. I didn't think about that.
I thought people were like real high class for going to Cartagena for like, I'm like, wow, way to go to Colombia. Randy's like, I'm going to Tokyo.
Where are you doing your bachelorette party, Sally?
I never have one.
I know. We have to have one.
I don't know. What I am going to Scottsdale with like our group of 5 girlfriends.
Toca
And
Madera.
I was like joking. I was like, well, I didn't get to go to 2 of their bachelorette parties. I never had one. So I was like, I think that each like dinner, brunch, whatever, we each get to pretend that we're like,
I love that. You should totally do that.
yeah. I was going to do it in Napa. And then now I'm like, that was when I was going to get married to Will, like before COVID hit and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then we didn't have time. And then we were going to like do them post. And then I was like, I'm not going to make everyone go to Napa. I would love to do a girls trip to Napa.
Of course.
But like not under the guys like, we have to celebrate me and I'm going to wear white. Like I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
And not that you can't do that. I'm just saying
Sure.
like I have 2 kids now. I can't be like making it all about me.
I got you. One of my buddies did Bozeman, and it was just like 12 guys in a house on like 200 acres, and they
Chilling.
shot stuff and drank a bunch of whiskey. And I
Where
was
do you
like,
want yours to be?
When I saw that go down, I was like, that kind of sounds tight. I always imagined like a lake house somewhere, and you just have a big lake house, and you're on the water for a weekend and maybe play a round of golf and just go to the bars
Honestly,
in a little lake
one
town.
of my best friends did hers in Austin, and I was like, this should be interesting because we were all from Texas, and it was so fun. And we like did a barge one day, like on Lake Austin, and then we just like went out to like our old haunts, and it was hilarious.
It was probably awesome.
It was
Probably a
great. We had a great time.
Anyway, I will. The last thing I'll say is look at Saratoga for bachelor parties.
Mhm.
Everybody I know who does them there has a fucking blast because there's
Yeah.
a lake, there's a concert venue, there's a great downtown like bar district,
Yeah.
great food, the horse track. I mean, you can gamble if you want.
Yeah.
It's got everything.
Or Austin or Nashville.
Or Austin.
The
or you can do
typical.
Nash Vegas, the typical ones.
The amount of people that were on bachelorette parties going to Vegas, or not Vegas, to Nashville with us last week was
Oh, I'm sure.
astounding. It was like almost like being on a flight to Orlando, the amount of kids. It's
Yes.
Like that. But
You know what everybody's doing here.
one girl was wearing a shirt.
Oh boy.
I'll say this, and then we can end this podcast.
Okay.
She was wearing a shirt that Will and I saw, and I was like, that is wild. And then, of course, she was on our flight. She was wearing a shirt. It was 3 frogs. They all were wearing cowboy hats, and it just said, "Giddy up, pussies."
I
And
love
Will
that.
was
That's a
like,
great shirt.
holy shit, this girl. And then, of course, we saw her at the bar,
Uh-huh.
and then we like saw her on our flight, and I was like, God,
yeah.
of course, she's
Oh
going to
yeah.
Nashville.
She's gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
I got shit for this take in like the group text, but I was like, I think like Minneapolis would be a cool bachelor party spot.
Probably.
And I was like, great golf. They have Lake Minnetonka. Awesome little downtown area, whether it's UM or
Yeah.
downtown Mini or Minnetonka, like it's like a kind of a party scene. And it was like, that's so dumb. Like fucking.
Honestly, not to throw shade at Minnesota or Minneapolis.
What's wrong with that?
Like,
it has everything that you could do in
I'm
like.
sure it'd be fine. Sure it'd be fun. But like just you saying that is like The Bachelor when they said that they're going to Cleveland and all
Oh,
the
they're like,
girls.
"Cleveland!"
The girls are like everyone would probably be like, oh
No, but they had to give
Minneapolis.
canned answers. They're
Yeah.
like, Cleveland is so cool. We're going to the
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Everyone was really like, oh.
I said that everyone's
Like,
like, that's so fucking lame, dude.
Honestly, one of the other my
Fuck you
favorite
guys, it's
bachelorette
pretty
parties was
awesome.
when we went to Chicago.
Yeah.
It was like it was right before the Chicago Marathon. It was fall. We rented a pontoon boat and
Mhm.
literally cruised the rivers, and we were like absolutely hammered, like weaving in and out of these like.
Oh, the architecture cool. The tour on the Chicago River is really cool.
No, I know, but like we were on a pontoon boat with like all the architecture tour boats between us, and I mean, it was so fun. Like,
Yeah.
I look back at that weekend, I'm like, that was absurd and like hilarious and really, really fun.
Mhm.
We had the best time.
It's just, you can, I'm not going to like, you can be in Springfield, Illinois, and if you're with 12 of your best friends in the world, you're going to find a way to
Yeah.
have fun. Like, that's just,
Yeah.
that's why these parties are so fun.
I am pro going a little more laid back because I think the like Miami, Vegas, Cabo weekend that is like
Mm-hmm.
that is planned to every minute. For girls, I'm like, those are the ones that I'm like
exhausting.
resenting the person because I'm like, oh my God, we have to like wear pink tonight. And like, we have like
Tonight's
the ones,
Jaguar
right,
stripes or
when you like get to just chill with your friends. Another one we had a really great time is we went to Boulder and like went to my friend's mom or my friend's mom's friend's
like house.
house on the mountains, and we just like literally like hung out
Sounds
in this
awesome.
mountain house. It was awesome. We didn't ski, we didn't do anything. We just like hung out in this house and then went out in Boulder.
Love it.
Again, great time because you're just like getting to hang out with your friends and like
Mhm.
there's no like pressure to like go get guys to invite you to a table and blah blah, like you know.
I love
Yeah.
the story of you and Lily in Vegas being like, we need the table. We have to go flirt.
Well, yeah, and when it was Lily's, I was like, no offense to everyone else on this bachelorette party except for me because I was a student, but like
Mhm.
we can afford to buy a table, so why don't we just be bad bitches and buy our own table? Why am I like pimping myself out to 25-year-olds,
For a
asking them
bottle
to
of-
like
a bottle of Ciroc.
for a bottle of Ciroc and cranberry juice? Like, can we just not? Like, I was so pissed about that. I was like, I hate this because I know that everyone here can afford it. Like, let's all put in $200 and buy a bottle of
Yeah,
you know,
whatever. Tito's.
Yeah, a
Tito's.
bachelor party when you're 23 compared to 30, like that's another thing to wonder about too.
Very
Yeah.
much so. Bachelor party when you're 23 is like, dude, let's do Vegas.
Let's go to the
let's go to
bars.
bars. Let's play craps all night. And then 30, it's like, let's go golf at a really nice course.
Yeah.
And have a really nice
Oh,
steak.
I mean,
and then go to bed at
on
10:30.
Barrett's was like every single person there besides Barrett had children. They
Yeah.
all, I like, honestly, the biggest fear about Will going to ski, I was like, please don't. I don't care if you get hammered.
Like he
If
breaks
you-
an arm
I'm
and
like,
can't
I'm
hold
literally
Charlie.
like, please don't tear your ACL. Please don't tear your
Yeah.
ACL. That was my biggest fear. He's fine.
Knock on wood. Can't. I'm going to Utah in about 6 hours. So hopefully I'm not.
Skiing fricks.
Steen does frick. On the mail-in next week with just my arm in a sling, like collarbone. No, I won't hit any trees. Anyway, that's the mail-in podcast. We are so happy that you guys are tuning in. Thank you, Randy, for being on the ones and twos. Please subscribe, rate 5 stars, review, and tell a friend about the show. Hit the hotline, 888-362-MAIL. That is 888-362-6245. Or again, you can write in at the link in the Twitter bio at Mail In Podcast. Sally, where can the folks find you?
Sally deFries on Instagram and Twitter.
I am Brett Merriman at Schmerriman on both of those platforms. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.